At 5:12 every morning, Maria Bennett's alarm went off. She never hit snooze. Not because she enjoyed waking up before sunrise. Because if she was late, she could lose the first job. And if she lost the first job, she couldn't afford to keep the apartment. Maria was 32 years old and living in a small one-bedroom apartment in Columbus, Ohio. Her daughter Lily was 6. Her checking account usually had less than $100 in it. Some weeks it had less than 20. Maria worked mornings at a hotel and evenings at a grocery store. 5 days a week, sometimes 6. On weekends, she picked up cleaning jobs whenever someone needed help. Her life had become a schedule of alarms, bus rides, uniforms, cheap dinners, and exhaustion. But there was one thing Maria refused to let her daughter see: fear. Every morning before leaving the apartment, Maria kissed Lily on the forehead. "Mommy's going to work." Lily would open sleepy eyes. "Again?" Maria smiled. "Just for a little while." But she knew that a little while had already lasted years. Maria hadn't planned on becoming a single mother. She had once imagined a completely different life. A small house, a stable marriage, a career she loved, a backyard where Lily could play. Instead, she found herself sitting at a kitchen table late one night, dividing a $1,147 paycheck across rent, electricity, groceries, transportation, childcare, and an overdue medical bill. There was never enough. One Friday afternoon, Maria received a phone call from her landlord. "Maria, I need to talk to you about the rent." Her stomach tightened. "I know, I'm sorry. I can pay the rest next Friday." "You've said that twice." "I promise." There was silence. Then the landlord sighed. "I'll give you until Friday." Maria thanked him. After hanging up, she sat in her car and cried for exactly 3 minutes. Then she wiped her face. She had a shift starting in 20 minutes. She couldn't afford to fall apart. At the grocery store that evening, Maria worked the checkout line. An elderly customer placed several bags of groceries on the counter. Maria scanned them. The woman noticed her tired expression. "Long day?" Maria smiled. "Something like that." The woman looked at her. "You're doing better than you think." Maria laughed softly. "I hope you're right." She didn't know it yet, but those words would stay with her, because the next morning, something happened that would change the direction of her life: the broken coffee machine. Maria's first job was at a small hotel near downtown. She worked housekeeping. Her job was physically exhausting. She cleaned 12 to 16 rooms a day. One Saturday morning, the hotel manager discovered that the coffee machine in the lobby had stopped working. The maintenance company couldn't come until Monday. The manager complained about it all morning. Maria watched him struggle with it. "Can I take a look?" He laughed. "You know how to fix coffee machines?" "No." "Then why are you offering?" Maria shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out." She opened the machine. The problem was surprisingly simple. A small part had become clogged. Maria cleaned it, reassembled the machine, and plugged it back in. The machine started working. The manager stared at her. "How did you do that?" "I just followed the instructions." He smiled. "You've got a good head on your shoulders." Maria didn't think much about it. But later that week, the hotel manager asked her to help organize some inventory. Maria noticed something. The hotel was losing money because supplies weren't being tracked properly. Cleaning products were ordered too frequently. Some employees took supplies home. Others simply didn't care. Maria created a basic spreadsheet. She tracked everything. Within 2 months, the hotel reduced its supply costs. The manager was impressed. "You should work in management." Maria laughed. "Management doesn't pay my bills. Actually, it pays more than housekeeping." She thought about that. Maybe he was right. But Maria didn't have a college degree. She had bills. She had a child. And she couldn't quit her second job. So she did what she had always done. She kept going. I had the note in her daughter's backpack. One evening, Maria picked Lily up from school. Lily climbed into the car holding a piece of paper. "Mommy, look." It was a drawing. Maria looked at it. It showed a woman standing beside a little girl. Above them were the words, "My mom is the hardest worker ever." Maria smiled. "Did you draw this?" Lily nodded. "Because you work all the time." Maria's smile disappeared for a moment. She didn't want her daughter to think that working constantly was the only way to survive. That night, after Lily went to sleep, Maria sat at the kitchen table. She opened her laptop. She searched. How do I start a business with no money? She read articles for almost 2 hours. Most of them sounded impossible. Investors, business plans, loans, marketing, accounting, licenses. Maria almost closed the laptop. Then she remembered something. At the hotel, she had discovered she was good at organizing. At the grocery store, she had learned customer service. Through cleaning jobs, she had learned exactly what people wanted from someone they trusted. Maybe she didn't need to start something huge. Maybe she could start small. She opened a blank document. At the top, she typed, Maria's Home Services. Then she stared at the screen. She didn't know if it would work. She didn't know how she would find customers. She didn't even know if she was capable of running a company. But for the first time in years, Maria wasn't thinking about surviving the next week. She was thinking about building the next 10 years. And that changed everything. Maria started with almost nothing. She printed simple flyers at the library. They said, reliable home cleaning, affordable rates, references available. She placed them on community bulletin boards. She posted in local neighborhood groups. She told coworkers. Then she waited. For 3 days, nobody called. On the 4th day, her phone rang. Hi, I saw your flyer. Maria sat up straight. Yes, I need someone to clean my house twice a month. Maria wrote down the address. The customer asked, how much do you charge? Maria hesitated. She had researched prices, but she was afraid of asking for too much. $75? There was a pause. Okay. Maria nearly dropped the phone. Her first customer. That Saturday, she cleaned the house for nearly 4 hours. The customer inspected everything. Then she smiled. You did a wonderful job. She handed Maria $100. Maria looked confused. You said $75. You earned the extra. Maria drove home holding that $100 bill. It wasn't the amount. It was what it represented. Someone had paid her directly for something she had built herself. That night, Maria put the money in an envelope. On it, she wrote, business money. She didn't spend a single dollar. 2 weeks later, she had 3 customers. Then 5. Then 8. But there was a problem. She was already working 2 jobs. Her schedule became brutal. Hotel from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Grocery store from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Cleaning customers on Saturday and Sunday. She was exhausted. One evening, Lily asked, Mommy, when do you sleep? Maria laughed. Sometimes in the car. Lily didn't laugh. She hugged her. You don't have to work so much. Maria closed her eyes. I know, baby. But Maria also knew something else. She was finally moving forward. The decision. 3 months later, Maria had 12 regular customers. Her little side business was bringing in almost $500 a month. That was more than she expected. But it wasn't enough to replace her jobs. Then the hotel manager called her into his office. I have a position available. Maria sat down. What kind? Assistant operations manager. Maria stared at him. It comes with benefits and a salary increase. For the first time, Maria had a choice. She could take the promotion, or she could continue building her business. She spent the weekend thinking about it. On Sunday evening, she sat with Lily at the kitchen table. What would you do if you could do anything? Lily looked confused. Anything? Anything. Lily thought for a moment. I'd have a house with a big kitchen. Maria laughed. Why? Because you like cooking. Maria smiled. Then Lily asked, What would you do? Maria looked at the little business card she had printed. Maria Bennett, owner. She finally understood. She didn't want to spend her entire life working for someone else's dream. She wanted to build her own. But she wasn't reckless. She accepted the promotion. For the next 8 months, she worked her management job during the week and continued growing her cleaning business on weekends. She saved every extra dollar. She stopped buying things she didn't need. She learned bookkeeping. She watched business tutorials. She learned how to write invoices. She learned about taxes. She learned how to advertise. She made mistakes. A lot of them. One customer refused to pay. Another canceled without notice. One employee she hired stole supplies. Maria wanted to quit several times. But every problem taught her something. The first employee. Eventually, Maria couldn't handle all the customers herself. She hired a woman named Jasmine. Jasmine was a single mother who had recently lost her job. Maria understood her situation immediately. "I'll train you," Maria said. Jasmine asked, "Are you sure?" Maria smiled. "Someone once gave me a chance." That became Maria's philosophy. She wasn't simply building a cleaning company. She was building opportunities. By the end of the year, she had 5 employees. Her business had more customers than she could personally serve. And then came the hardest decision of her life. She quit her hotel job. Her manager was disappointed. "You're really leaving?" Maria nodded. "I'm scared." He smiled. "Good." She looked confused. "Why good?" "Because people who aren't scared usually don't understand what they're risking." Maria walked out of the hotel carrying a cardboard box. For the first time in years, she wasn't going to another job. She was going home. To work on her own company. Success didn't arrive the way Maria imagined. She thought owning a business would mean freedom. Instead, it meant responsibility. Every employee depended on her. Every customer depended on her. Every mistake cost her money. Then the economy slowed. Customers started canceling. Some businesses cut cleaning services. Residential clients reduced their appointments. Maria's revenue dropped almost 40% in a matter of months. She had payroll to cover. Insurance, supplies, transportation, rent, and a daughter who depended on her. One Friday night, Maria opened her business account. The balance was $2,046. Her payroll was $3,700. She stared at the screen. For the first time since starting the business, she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. She could close the company, sell what equipment she had, return to a regular job. At least she would have a predictable paycheck. That night, she barely slept. The next morning, she called her employees together. "I don't know what the next few months will look like," Maria told them. Jasmine looked worried. "Are we losing our jobs?" Maria shook her head. "Not if I can help it." She had no idea how she was going to fix the problem. But she knew she wasn't going to abandon the people who had trusted her. The idea. That weekend, Maria sat in her daughter's school parking lot waiting for pickup. She noticed several parents getting out of cars. A woman walked past carrying groceries and a toddler. Maria suddenly had an idea. She had been thinking like a cleaner. She needed to start thinking like a business owner. People didn't just need cleaning. They needed convenience. They needed reliable home services. So Maria changed the company. Instead of offering only cleaning, she introduced packages. Cleaning, laundry, organization, move-in and move-out services, small office maintenance. She created monthly memberships. Customers could schedule everything through one system. Maria spent nights learning basic digital marketing. She created a website. She started posting videos showing cleaning tips. One video unexpectedly received thousands of views. Then something happened. People began calling from outside her city. Maria couldn't serve them, but she could train other people. So she created a training program. Within a year, her company had expanded into 3 nearby cities. The business that had almost collapsed became stronger than before. The call from her old boss. One afternoon, Maria's phone rang. It was her former hotel manager. "Maria? Hi. I heard your company is doing well." Maria smiled. "We're getting there." He laughed. "I need to ask you a favor." "What?" "Our hotel needs a new cleaning contractor." Maria was silent. Her old workplace wanted to hire her company. She remembered walking through those same halls years earlier with a cleaning cart. She remembered counting every dollar. She remembered crying in her car. Now the hotel wanted to sign a contract with the company she had built. Maria accepted. The contract became one of the largest opportunities in her company's history. But she didn't celebrate immediately. She drove home. She sat at the kitchen table, and she looked at the old drawing Lily had made years earlier. "My mom is the hardest worker ever," Maria smiled. She had spent years believing that working harder was the answer. Now she understood. Working hard mattered, but working towards something mattered more. 7 years after Maria printed her first flyer at the library, she stood inside the headquarters of her company. There were more than 40 employees. The company served homes, offices, and several commercial properties across the region. Maria no longer cleaned houses herself. She trained managers. She reviewed financial reports. She met clients. She interviewed new employees. But she still kept one habit. Every Monday morning, she walked through the office and spoke to new employees personally. She told them, "I started this company because I needed a second chance." Many of them didn't know what she meant. Then she told them, "I worked 2 jobs. I missed birthdays. I ate dinner in parking lots. I worried about rent. I thought being exhausted was the price of success." She paused. "But I learned something." Everyone listened. Success isn't about never struggling. It's about refusing to let your struggle decide who you become. One of the employees asked, "Do you ever wish you had taken an easier path?" Maria smiled. "All the time." Everyone laughed. Then she became serious. "But I don't wish I had given up." The house. A few months later, Maria bought her first home. It wasn't enormous. It wasn't a mansion, but it had exactly what Lily had once dreamed about. A big kitchen, a backyard, a small garden, and a quiet room where Maria could finally sit without worrying about the next month's rent. On the day they moved in, Lily walked through the house. She was 16 now. She looked at her mother. "Mom?" "Yeah? You actually did it." Maria smiled. "We did." Lily hugged her. Then she said something Maria would never forget. "I remember when you used to tell me you were working just for a little while." Maria laughed through her tears. "I know. It wasn't a little while." "No, it was years." Maria nodded. It was. Lily looked around the house. "Was it worth it?" Maria looked at her daughter. Then she looked at everything they had built. "Yes." But Maria knew the house wasn't the real victory. The real victory was that her daughter had watched her struggle without watching her surrender. The scholarship. Years later, Maria created a small scholarship through her company. Every year, one employee could receive financial assistance for professional training or education. When someone asked why she did it, Maria always gave the same answer. "Because somebody once believed I was capable of more." She never forgot the hotel manager who encouraged her. The elderly grocery customer who told her she was doing better than she thought. The first customer who paid her $100. Jasmine, who became her first employee. And most importantly, Lily. Her daughter had been the reason Maria kept going when everything felt impossible. The last lesson. Maria's story wasn't about becoming rich. It wasn't about owning a company. It wasn't even about quitting 2 jobs. It was about learning that survival and success are not the same thing. For years, Maria had worked simply to survive. Then she started working to build. And eventually, she reached the place she had once thought was impossible. She became her own boss. But whenever someone congratulated her, Maria corrected them. "I didn't do it alone." Then she would tell them about the people who helped her along the way. Because success rarely happens in one dramatic moment. Sometimes it begins with a tired mother sitting at a kitchen table after midnight. Sometimes it begins with a question. What if my life could be different? And sometimes the first step is simply refusing to stop. Maria still had difficult days. She still made mistakes. She still worried about the future. But she no longer woke up every morning afraid of losing everything. She woke up knowing she had built something that couldn't be taken away so easily. Her courage, her skills, her experience, her belief in herself, and the example she had given her daughter. One evening, years after that first $75 cleaning job, Maria stood outside her company building. The sun was setting. She looked at the sign above the door. "Bennett Home and Business Services." She smiled. Then she remembered the woman she had been years earlier. 2 jobs, 1 child, almost no savings, and a dream she was too afraid to say out loud. Maria whispered, "You made it." Then she walked inside. Because the journey hadn't really ended. It had only become bigger. And somewhere inside that building were Dozens of people who had been given the same thing Maria once needed most: a chance. Final message. If you're watching this while working a job you don't love, struggling to pay bills, or wondering whether your dream is still possible, remember Maria's lesson. You don't have to change your entire life tomorrow. Start with one skill, one idea, one customer, one step. Your current circumstances are not necessarily your final destination. Sometimes the person who saves your future is the version of you who refuses to give up today. If this story inspired you, like the video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs a reminder that their hardest chapter doesn't have to be their last.